Hi guys, the episode that you're just about to listen to is generously sponsored by our affiliates Board Game Crate. Board Game Crate provide a monthly subscription service where they get fresh new games delivered straight to your door. Just head over to www.boardgamecrate.co.uk, and furthermore, if you use our discount code UnluckyFrogIsAwesome, all lowercase, all one word, you'll get a cheeky little discount. It's easy to remember because it's true. Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your two usual hosts here, Josh Hartley and Ben. Why are you smiling at me, Ben?
Well, it's funny because you're saying usual hosts, but given recent events, we're actually the unusual hosts.
Aye,
it's been a while since
you have been with child.
Well, my wife has been with child, and I now have a child.
Yeah. That I hear that changes things.
Not that I'm being pedantic. I just want it to be clear what the roles were within that arrangement.
Fair. I
don't want to take credit for something I didn't do. You know.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure Charlotte will appreciate that. Yes. Well, returning hosts. Will we go with that?
We'll go with that. Yeah.
Okay, returning hosts, Josh Hartley and Ben Porter. We are joined this week by Dan Jolin. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Yeah, no, glad to have you. Dan is apart from just being a seasoned journalist anyway, and contributing to tabletop gaming publications, you are coming out with a new magazine, Senet. It is live on Kickstarter right now, so we're going to have a good chat about that, what the ambitions are for Senet, and hopefully see what it's all about.
Get some insights.
Exactly. Before that, have we got any news to cover off?
Apparently, there's quite a big convention happening right now in Germany.
What?
Yeah, mind blown.
Yeah, of course, Essen Spiele is happening. Well, we're recording this on Thursday night, so this is like just the beginning of it. No doubt when this goes out, everything will have been spoiled. Your Facebook feeds will be full of people taking photographs of all the games they've purchased, making me jealous,
making you feel horrible about having to work.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
But Dan, you haven't been able to make it out this year, but the second half behind Senet is out there now. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, our co-founder, my co-founder, I should say, James. He's over there. He's there for Saturday and Sunday, I believe. So I don't think he's quite gone over there yet, but he will be there. Well, it's actually going to be his first Essen. So,
oh wow,
yeah. I'm kind of jealous in a sense, not only because he's there and I'm not, but because I have been before, and I just remember going for the first time, and that kind of like amazing moment where you first walk into the main hall and you're just like, whoa.
I really like. We've never been.
No.
The biggest we've been to is UK Games Expo, which is an experience in its own right. But yeah. I'm told Essen is just that times 10.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to be honest, I kind of like. I probably shouldn't say this. I kind of almost prefer UK Games Expo because it's just a little bit more chilled.
Yeah,
it's a little bit less like jostly and a little bit kind of like, it's almost like at Essen. There's like lanes of people like moving. You've got to get into a lane of people to move in a certain direction. But one thing I loved was just sort of going to the other halls, and then sort of walking around the more sort of indie booths, people with their little prototypes and stuff like that, and sort of like exploring that side of Essen Spiele, which I really like doing.
Yeah. The thing that I'd heard about Essen is it's a little bit more of a trade show, whereas conventions like UK Games Expo and Gen Con are a bit more general interest.
Yeah, and you get the opportunity. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of
I mean,
gaming
not to
being
demean
done.
Essen, of course,
Yeah.
but it's just that it's more of an emphasis on product and industry.
Yeah. So obviously, a later episode will dissect all the big announcements that come out throughout the.
Any games you're looking forward to, Essen?
Can I do my usual cop out answer of saying the one I wasn't expecting?
I nearly swore there. That's how disgusted I was with
Dan's
that
reaction was perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to ask which one's that then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if Charlotte can stretch out that silence after that answer a bit more.
Well, just maybe put some crickets in the background.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a boring answer because it's an expansion rather than an actual brand new game. I do really want to get a hold of the Wingspan expansion.
Yeah. That does look really good. And you know, the thing about Wingspan is that it's perfect for expansion because you can just go to different continents and add more birds in that way. New mechanics.
I'm just going to make up a load of brand new birds.
Yeah.
And that's my expansion.
Trash kestrels and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I don't know. I usually wait and see. I usually have in my head at this time of year like what games have been coming out over the past like 10 months that I'm thinking I really want to get on because I'm thinking for Christmas basically.
Yeah.
Or putting on my Christmas wish list. So I've already got in my head like the games I want to try and pick up.
Yeah.
But you never know. A lot of the big companies do make reveals at Essen. How about yourself?
For me, the two that I'm quite intrigued in that I know are launching at Essen, the first one is Sanctum.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah, which is basically Diablo for the tabletop.
I don't know if Czech Games Edition really want us associating the two.
We all know what it is. Like, I see you, Sanctum.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there. And we got to play that at Expo, and
it was good fun.
Yeah.
Diablo for tabletop is to be fair a nice succinct way of describing it.
At the same time, though, I don't feel like that quite does the game justice because I think what's really clever about Sanctum is that they've managed to take the fun and the thrill of that little loot cycle that you get in games like that and implement it in a tabletop experience, and I think that's where the genius is. It's not so much in killing monsters, because I think that's what people think when you say Diablo for the tabletop, that it's going to be like Zombicide but in a dungeon or something like that.
Right.
And it's not.
So no, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that as well.
And the other one that I'm looking forward to, just because I love anything Roman, is Roman Wright from the Plastic Soldier Company.
Yeah.
Awful name, but it does look really good.
Yeah.
Sucker for the sort of ancient Roman.
Love you a good Roman.
I do. I must confess I do. But it's because I was thinking about this when I was at work today. What is it with the roll and write genre where people feel compelled to have reference to the genre within the title of the game?
I honestly don't know.
I
know what you mean. Like, well, I love a good pun.
Yeah, I know.
So, but then, why doesn't that translate to
you don't do
all
it with
other
deck builders, do you?
Hmm?
You don't do it with deck builders. They've always got like their own name, whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, deck sounds too close to dick, and then that's just gonna.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Like the floodgates.
Yeah. Anyway, swiftly moving on.
Yeah,
Dan, what are you looking forward to, Essen?
I really like the look of Obscurio, which I really like Mysterium, and it's kind of a new spin on Mysterium. Same kind of thing, except it's kind of it seems that it's got a secret role element folded in as well.
All right.
Yeah, it's sort of set like in a wizard's library, and you're lost in wizard's library and trying to get out and everything, and it's like one player kind of showing the pictures and everything, and the other player's trying to interpret them. But as I understand it, having not played it and just sort of like, you know, looking over the surface, that there's a kind of as I say, a hidden role element. There might be a traitor in their midst, or, you know, that kind of thing. So I like the look of that, just because Mysterium's such a lovely game, such a visual.
Same creators, I take it.
Well, it's Libelud, if I'm saying that correctly. Okay. So it's the same company, but it's Letelier is the designer of this. So it's a different designer, but it's kind of, it seems to be deliberately sort of pitched at the same crowd, if you see what I mean.
A sort of spiritual successor to Mysterium.
Yeah, it feels more like that. But to be honest, I'm enticed to get my hands on it to find out actually how much that is true, or how much that is just me thinking that it's true from what I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but I like the look of that. Tapestry, of course. Which is
a lot of buzz about that.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm a massive sort of Civ game kind of a person. I prefer the micro to the macro. You know, I kind of like, for example, I prefer, you know, sort of, you know, dungeon crawl games or skirmish games to full on war games. You know, I like, you know, the smaller scale, if you like. But it's Jamie Stegmaier, and thus far he can do no wrong in my book.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah.
You know,
it's like just the closest the industry has to a rock star at the moment, I think. Isn't
it? Yeah. Except he's a rock star that hasn't ever had a difficult second album.
Yeah.
So.
I've now got. I'm picturing now dressed as Slash, just showing up at Essen with people screaming at him.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's how it goes down.
Although, to be fair, Eric M. Lang's a bit of a rock star, isn't he? Actually, I think he literally plays the electric guitar. So, you know, I think he might have something to say about that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And on that note, so obviously we'll bring you more news about Essen as and when it comes out. We'll no doubt have an entire episode dissecting what's happened and sharing our ill-informed opinions.
Speak for yourself. So the other little news item we had to cover off is Modiphius have just announced that they're going to be doing a licensed pen and paper role-playing game set in the Homeworld universe. So it's called Homeworld. A fairly well-timed announcement, I think, because apparently Gearbox are going to be doing a new Homeworld video game that they're planning to release in 2022. So fairly soon as far as development for video games go. I've seen quite a few people are quite excited at this announcement, but honestly it's kind of gone over my head a little bit.
Homeworld does have like a cult following. It was someone's going to correct me on this, right? But as far as I can remember, it was one of the first like real-time strategy games that was set in space, and it was actual 3D. I mean, the game came out 20 years ago, or the first one anyway, and it's a really cool universe.
What I had read was that not only is it like quite a very highly thought of game in terms of the real-time strategy genre, what I had read is that apparently it also features a very good story.
Yeah.
But it's that problem of that story is locked away within like a fairly high difficulty threshold.
Yeah. Modiphius have been turning their hand to a lot. Like I was saying before we started recording, I think they've got a sweatshop of impoverished writers somewhere, slaving away at all these different IPs.
Paper stained with sweat and tears.
I think we'll reach... Mind about 10 years ago, Broadway just started turning every single IP into a musical. We had ridiculous ones like Lord of the Rings and Spider-Man.
That's where we're at with role-playing games.
Are we reaching that point? I don't know if we're there yet, but are we reaching that?
I think we're getting there. What do you reckon, Dan?
Well, yeah, it doesn't bother me so much though. I mean, it's kind of isn't that the joy of like the role playing games? It's it's the theatre of the mind. It's the freedom of the imagination. So there's room for everything, right? The only thing I have, the thing I have is I love RPGs, but in terms of like board games are quick, aren't they? When you're kind of when you're not exactly time rich. And you sort of sit down with people, and it's just like you can get a board game out, explain the rules, do it quickly. But obviously, RPGs require a lot of planning, a lot of reading, a lot of prep, a lot of kind of everyone's got to kind of get it and make the. Do you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like I don't have enough time in my life. I love that they exist, but I just don't have enough time in my life for much more, to be honest, than D&D and Pathfinder. With maybe a little tiny bit of Traveller every now and again.
I think it was we had Sen Fung on the show. I think it was earlier this year, and I thought this was quite an eloquent description of like your war games, your role playing games, and all that. And because we were talking about them, he just described them with the catch-all term of lifestyle games.
Because that's what they are. They consume you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but all joking aside, that they're like Dan's saying as well. There's a lot more of an investment in there than there is in like a board game.
Yeah, so particularly with RPGs. I mean, particularly if you're going to be the one running the thing as well. Like I shudder to think of how much time Tom spends on creating fun for me to have.
Well, that's why all the big role-playing games have teams dedicated just to writing adventure modules.
Yeah.
Is so that people don't necessarily have to do that if they don't want to.
But even if it's a pre-written one, I mean, you still got to kind of, you don't want to be that sort of DM or GM who has to keep going and checking. Do you know what I mean? Where you get that thing where it's just like, oh, hang on, I'm just going to read this. So like when I was running Out of the Abyss, I think it was last year or something, it was just like before each session I'd almost like be like revising for a test, and kind of like checking my spreadsheet with all the instant information on it so I didn't have to leaf through pages. And it's kind of like, then you sit down, it's like, well, I remember everything. So even then, but I mean, it's lovely. I love it. I'm making it sound stressful. It's not.
The first role-playing game that I feel that I'm confident enough to approach as a GM is the upcoming Age of Sigmar role-playing game. And it is purely because I think I have read just about every scrap of lore.
Yeah, it's not so much a rules thing; it's the background and the universe.
So
itself.
I feel like the only thing that I'm going to have to consult in the middle of the game is going to be the rules, rather than all this lore stuff. Yeah. Which I think that's probably the thing that freaks a lot of people out with some of these games.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to getting like really left of field questions from me about the universe?
Well, I'll just ignore you.
You're no fun.
Yeah. If they're sensible, then that's fine. But if it's purely like setting a pitfall for me,
you're not going to fall for that.
No.
Damn.
No. I knows you, boy.
Yeah.
I knows you. But yeah, in terms of scope of storytelling and things like that, Modiphius have described Homeworld as a sort of space opera.
Yeah,
game,
I think if we were going to be really lazy about it, Star Trek adjacent. Think that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? Speaking of space operas, you know what I'd like? RPG wise, I'd like to see like one based on Ian M. Banks's Culture, unless someone's done it and I never noticed.
I think there's one for everything. I think one of my favourite things from UK Games Expo last year, and I really wish that I managed to have a go at it, was Jason Statham's Lovely Holiday. But like you said earlier, Dan, like that's the beauty with role-playing games and theatre of the mind. If you can imagine it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And
there are some extremely diligent people out there who just write this stuff for fun and put it up on the internet as well. So that, I mean, the innumerable role-playing supplements out there, I dare to say.
It'll be like Rule 34, but not disgusting.
Like more wholesome.
Yeah. One that you can talk to children about.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Wow. Okay.
So, obviously, Dan, we mentioned earlier, you are in the process of founding a new gaming publication, Senet,
Yes.
which is up on Kickstarter right now. We've obviously checked it out ourselves.
Oh, thanks.
Looks really polished.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Well, I want to ask you first before I make my observation.
Yeah.
What were there other publications, or what did you draw inspiration from the look and feel that you were going for this magazine?
Well, actually, we weren't really drawing inspiration particularly from anything within the games world. We were looking at like other magazines and the kind of magazines that James and I love, and so we were looking at magazines like Little White Lies, which is a movie magazine, independent movie magazine, and it's very kind of crisp and illustration led, and kind of not so dependent on the materials you get given by the companies whose products you're covering, basically.
Yeah.
More of a innovative, artistic kind of an approach. But then also, I mean, I'm a big fan of Edge magazine, which I sure don't have to explain what that is. Again,
I'm so glad you mentioned Edge, because that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. I'm really glad. But it's kind of wanting to do something that exists in that area of magazine publishing. So, it's not big commercial newsstand stuff. We're not making things that are precision engineered to catch the eye in a news agent and get your casual passing customer to pick it up and go, oh, I'll get this, my nephew might like it or something. That's not what we're trying to do. We want to do something that's very targeted to passionate enthusiasts, but which also just is a lovely product you can hold in your hands and go, oh, wow, this looks really great. And to me, that goes hand in hand with loving board games. So I'll bring it on to board games, because like right from the start, when I in my, during this board game renaissance, when I think it was Carcassonne, starting with Carcassonne very possibly, of this new wave of these games. And the first thing that struck me was like, these look really lovely. I mean, most of them do. These look great. These are beautiful things. There are ones that don't, that I still like, but a lot of the time it's like these components feel great. The design is fantastic. This is not, and then even beyond that, beneath the look of them, then it's like, oh, the way the mechanics or the mechanisms click together and the way it works, that's really interesting. This isn't just roll some dice and move your pawn and a thing happens. There's like loads going on here that relies on lots of different approaches. So anyway, rambling now, but I just thought that board gaming, without wanting to sound too arrogant, deserved a magazine like that, which, as I say, isn't to do down any other magazines which exist at the moment. For example, Tabletop Gaming Magazine is a great magazine, and I write for it. So, but that's performing a more, shall we say, commercial function, which is great. You want that, but so James and I wanted to do something which was a little more, shall we say? I mean, if you want to be cynical, you could be like arty-farty about it, but no, just something which is a bit more, shall we say, specifically passionate. Does that make sense?
Approach it from a more intellectual perspective, even. Yeah,
but without being, we don't want to be like up ourselves. It's more like pulling apart why we love games, if you see what I mean. So it's less about, hey everyone, there's a new game coming out, we're all excited about it, and here's what it is, which again, that's totally valid. But I think, well, okay, you've already got Tabletop doing that. You've got other magazines, doing that, Casual Games Insight, for example. What I wanted to do was go, well, actually, maybe there's another way we can approach this, editorially speaking. Why do people love, what do people love about games? Well, we love different themes, so why do we love this theme or that theme? We like different mechanisms. You might love roll and write, you might prefer worker placement or something like that. So there's that kind of approach to it, and I thought, well, maybe we could dig into that a little bit and sort of approach gaming more conceptually from that angle, whilst also keeping it relevant to what's new out and what's coming up, and what are the greatest examples of these things. So I'm kind of conceived it as like you're bookending it with what you would want, with a preview section at the front and a review section at the back, because that's bread and butter stuff. People want that. But in between, I just wanted to do something that really kind of digs in, and my cheesy phrase for it is which gets under the lid of board gaming.
I see what you've done there.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
I did.
Shall I say it again, like, in a sort of like?
Do it. Yes.
Something which gets, shall we say, under the lid of board gaming.
I'm so happy right now.
I feel a little bit sick.
But no, you make a really good point in that, because one of the things that's happening with printed media, people are buying less of it at the moment. So the aesthetic of it and the tangibility of it, the same reason why people are starting to pick up board games as well as video games. There's something nice about the tactile, the physical of it. So make the most of it. And that's what struck me when we were looking at the Kickstarter page. This looks great.
I think the thing that we had said, and you have our full permission to use this phrase if you like, was that it's approaching board games from an intellectual perspective without sounding like an arsehole.
Yeah. I mean, I've always struggled to do anything without sounding like an a-hole, and I'm not sure I've entirely succeeded in my life. But that is pretty much it. But I mean, I have to really give props to James, the creative director, James Hunter. I mean, the origin story of this is he came to me, actually. He was the one who said, I want to create a board gaming magazine. And he had read my stuff, and actually it turned out we had some mutual friends, and he's kind of approached me out of the blue earlier this year and said, do you want to do this with me? And at first I was like, do I want to do that? I'm already writing about board games, and in a very rare and lucky position to be paid to play board games effectively. Not enough to live on, but it still is. I'm not doing it for free. And I thought, do I want to do? And that's when I met with him, and he showed me some very early designs, which are actually very close to the kind of the banner on our project page, except it wasn't called Senet Magazine at the start. And I looked at this, and I looked at what he'd done, and I just thought it sparked something in me, and I just thought, oh, actually, this could work. We're not trying to do sort of like a big newsstand thing. I mean, hey, one day it might grow to become something like that, which would be amazing. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of, we're taking it one step at a time. So we just want to really start off being, and I have to be careful because I don't want to sort of like do ourselves down, but it is going to be quite niche. It's going to be quite specialist to start with. Or we want to kind of get a nice committed core of readers, and then, hopefully word of mouth will happen and it will grow organically as it needs to. And we'll see where we are. We see where we get to. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the first thing that needs to happen is we need to hit our target on Kickstarter. So,
So we've talked a little bit about. I think the phrase you used there was it's going to be quite niche because you're targeting quite passionate gamers. There's a bit more of an artistic emphasis on the magazine. Very specifically, who is Senet for?
Very specifically, who is? That's a good question. It's for a guy called Steve. No, it's a guy called Steve. He lives in Norwich. He's really nice. No,
shout out to Steve.
Yeah. Hey Steve, how you doing? Keep buying us. Keep pledging. No. Well, yes. It's. I actually did think about this. Like, who are we for? And the thing is, I always worry about going too much into this because I don't want to alienate anyone. Do you know what I mean? When I start saying, it's going to be. So, for example, if I say in my head, and honestly, I thought this is like someone who has at least 30 games in their collection, right?
Okay.
And then the next thing is someone will go, well, actually, I've only got 20. Do you think I don't like games as much as you? So it's that I kind of don't really want to go too far with that kind of specific thing. But I think to me, it's someone who does have a regular game night, whether that's just slightly informal with their friends or in an organised place. It's people who do back games on Kickstarter. Or at least have tried it out at least once. Mm-hmm. To me, I think it's for people who, if they haven't been to an expo, then they like the idea of it. You know what I mean? They kind of they would be open to doing so. Someone who wouldn't be bothered by sitting down and playing a game with a stranger, for example, because the most important thing is you want to play the game, but it's a social thing. It's a great way to meet people. So it's that kind of gamer, I think. But I've talked to people about Senet who aren't that committed as gamers, and they love the idea of it as well. They're like, oh wow, board games, and then and a lot of the time I will actually kind of do the whole thing. Oh yeah, there's far more to it than Monopoly and Cluedo, and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And within 5 minutes they're really into it, and they're like, oh, I'll have to check Senet out. So I think actually it might be, fingers crossed, something that would be accessible to people who aren't so into games. Actually, the way that it's designed and the way that it looks might help bring more people in. So for example, I love high fantasy RPGs, right? I love that kind of, I love that genre. I grew up with it. I grew up on D&D and Lord of the Rings and all that. But not everyone is into, orcs and dwarves killing each other and that kind of thing. So if you've kind of got a publication where the front cover is plastered with pictures of dwarves sinking axes into orcs' heads, now I would look at that and go, oh, I don't know what's happening in here. Let's have a look. But actually, a lot of people might be a bit like, that's not really for me. That kind of a thing. Whereas the way we're presenting games in Senet, it actually we're treating them almost like art pieces in a way, is something kind of look at this lovely spread. I think to a lot of people that will be a lot more attractive, and they'll be like, oh, actually this looks really good. I want to play this game about collecting birds, for example, or making tea, or guessing words.
It's funny because the way that some of the pictures are arranged and the samples that have been given, maybe this is just my weird brain, it put me in mind a little bit of a food magazine.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can kind of see
so
that.
In a food magazine, you don't show. Well, maybe you do occasionally. It's not like pictures of people having a meal, and it's not like an artistic representation of a chicken.
Aye.
It's the chicken is the showcase, and then you'll get weird shots down on table level of the chicken.
I really want
food porn, basically.
I really want a chicken now.
Yeah.
But
I did. Yeah, I did at one point have the phrase in my head, board game porn, and my wife told me, never use that, never say that. So there you go, I've just said it. But no.
Certainly never Google it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's actually, it's a really dumb, but to be honest, I was just thinking, not, but anyway, let's not go down that particular rabbit hole. But I was just thinking, yes, something which just, we want to be, lavish about it. You want to kind of relish, to use another food metaphor, the artistry of games. So yeah, I think the food magazine analogy is pretty sound. But obviously, we want to make sure that there's plenty of chewy and nutritious editorial material in there as well. So obviously, that's my responsibility rather than James's, is making sure that the writing is absolutely top notch, which is why I want to make sure our contributors are really smart, really know their games. But also, actually, it's also important to me that I want us to have as diverse a readership as possible. So I want there to be diversity amongst our contributors. I want it to be as even a male-female split of writers as I can manage. And I would like to think that, like I say, that maybe something that's got, I keep saying orcs killing dwarves, but it could be anything. It could be, it could be someone in a spacesuit shooting a laser through someone.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to make sure that, a female readership would think, actually, I feel comfortable reading that. That looks like something which reflects the side of the game experience that I like. If that doesn't sound too awful and patronising, but
not at all.
Yeah.
No. So obviously, you'll have the articles lined up for issue 1. So what can you tease with what we can expect to be reading about?
Well, you see, I do. I've got a very clear idea of what's in issue 1, and this is actually quite an important point. Right at the very start, this is one of the first conversations. Well, the first things I said in my early conversations with James is, I want this magazine to pay all its contributors, right? So okay. Because good writing has a value, right? And you must pay for that value. So I don't expect anyone to do anything for free. So there's no freebies. There's no kind of, calling in favors to make it happen, which is why our target price on Kickstarter is actually accurately reflects that. We could have gone lower and tried to fudge that. But I want our writers to be invested and committed and enthusiastic, and they should be paid for what they do. So what I've been careful to do is not actually get anyone to start writing anything until I'm 100% sure that they can be paid through the monies we're raising on Kickstarter.
That's fair. Yeah.
So there is a chance that there may be some changes to the plan that I've got, because once again, it's a creative, collaborative process. It may be one of my writers goes, well, actually, you want me to do this, but I think I've got this take on it, which means it could be like this. And then I'll be like, well, that's good. Well, you could do it that way. That said, I have already interviewed Elizabeth Hargrave for our kind of star interview slot. Which I call Hall of Game, but I don't think we'll call it that actually on the page. Just a bit too cheesy. But yeah, it's kind of taking. My idea was like, you read most magazines have a kind of a big Q&A interview with a kind of an expert in their field, or someone who's really excelled at what they do. Exactly. If it's a film magazine, it'll be Martin Scorsese, that kind of a thing. Yeah. So I kind of thought I want to do that. Like in each issue of Senet, we would have a really proper career-focused, in-depth Q&A with somebody. And what with Wingspan's impact this year, even though it's Elizabeth's first ever game, and I'd spoken to her before about for a piece I wrote for The Observer about STEM-based games. And I just realized she was really articulate and really interesting. And I just thought I wanted to be her. So she agreed. She agreed and she talked to me. So I've actually already done that interview, which is primarily hooked on Tussie, Mussie, funnily enough, which is her new game, which is completely different to Wingspan.
This is the Victorian plants game.
That's right. Yeah, it's an 18-card game. I mean, it's like it fits inside a tiny wallet.
Stark contrast to Wingspan.
Yeah,
there's a bit of a nature thing going on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a natural theme, and also these kind of rather delightfully arcane things that she finds that she finds inspiration in. Here is this idea of a secret language of flowers that the Victorians had. So what they would do was spoiler alert, what they would do was they would give bouquets of flowers to each other, and certain flowers which have certain meanings,
yeah, of course.
I am ashamed, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. The only one I know is that you're supposed to give lilies for funerals.
Right.
And roses at Valentine's.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of a thing. But even more specific. It's almost like they would actually like dictionaries they published.
Oh wow!
Which was like, okay, if you're given this flower, it means this very specific thing. So the bouquets would be arranged in such a way that it would spell out a message, but the message would be in the flowers. And she found this out. I didn't know about this before she told me about it. She found this out and based a game on it. And so to me, there's a great story there about where a game designer can find inspiration, and they can find inspiration in places, other than I like Star Wars, that kind of a thing. And so, yeah, we talked about that, and we obviously talked about Wingspan. We talked about her Kennerspiel win and the impact it's had on her life. So all that's in there. So that interview will be in the first issue. We are also, so I was saying earlier about different approaches. I want to do a piece about Vikings.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. It's just Viking games are everywhere, right? It's just like there's all different ones coming out all the time. I've got quite a few myself. I've got Blood Rage, which of course is the image on our dummy cover. I've got a Feast for Odin, even like a really cool little card game that came out. I think it was last year that seemed to go under the radar called Endless Paths.
Which Viking games are everywhere, quite like actual Vikings were. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I just thought I'd like one of our writers to investigate that a bit. What is it about? What exactly is it about the theme? Okay, is inherent excitement to it, but there must be something about the way sort of Vikings have anchored the way in our culture, that in Europe's culture, and obviously in America as well, that we want to keep making games about them. Why do they lend themselves to great games? Because I bloody love Blood Rage. It's so good. Feast for Odin is magnificent. I mean, hard to convince people to play it because it scares them away once you start putting it on the table, but it's a magnificent game. So something which sort of digs into that theme, and then of course takes a look at which games do it best, which are the most interesting ones that do it. So that kind of thing. So I'd like to do something on Vikings, and we want to have something in each issue which is about the kind of the player experience as well, sort of more about almost kind of the community side about it. But community is a very loaded word that I think might give the wrong impression, but it's more about so for example, and this is just kind of off the top of my head, is like, someone could make the case that, cooperative games make you better at life, kind of thing.
It's like games on a more interpersonal level, is it? That kind of idea?
Yeah,
exactly. But someone, and this would be, again, a writer would take it up, would take the theme, and I would say to them, do what you like with it. Where does this concept take you? So I could say, for example, this month, cheating. Okay, write me a piece about cheating. What is the point of cheating? Why do people cheat? How do you deal with someone that cheats? Is it just fun that someone would do something like that? Is it the worst thing anyone could possibly do? So it could be something like that, for example, or it could be introducing someone new to a gaming group, someone who's not played anything before. What's the best way to ease them in? How or it could be teaching.
Don't get them to play Arkham Horror.
Yeah, which edition?
From personal experience, don't get them to play Arkham Horror. Which edition was it?
I think it was the second edition.
Yeah.
It was the first ever game.
Yeah, it was. Oof. It was our friend's girlfriend. It's the first time she ever came along, so we decided it would be a great idea to have an 8-player game of Arkham Horror.
Several hours later, poor Amy was losing the will to live.
Yeah. She came back, and it definitely was not because of that.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Well, there you go. So yeah, but again, with that specific thing is, I've got an idea of what I would like it to be in the first issue, but I'm going to be open-minded and maybe have a discussion with the writer in question. So, and then we will also be having. I'm quite pleased about this. Tristan Hall, who is a games designer. He designed Gloom of Kilforth and 1066.
1066.
Yeah.
Tears for Many Mothers, and
right.
Lifeform as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we like Tristan.
Yeah, great. Yeah, no, I like Tristan too. Full disclosure, I know him and we chat. And I like his games, though. I do like his games, which is handy. So he's. I asked him I just thought, wouldn't it be cool if we actually just got a designer to chat about, or to write about what they do, give some insights. And I thought, I think, based on talking to him and what I've read of his, I think he'd do that quite well. So I've asked him each issue to just do a piece, quite a small piece, tackling like a different aspect of being a game designer each issue. Hopefully he will do that in a engaging and witty way. There you go.
Excellent.
Nice.
So for our listeners who want to go and back the project, where do they need to go?
Well, it's very easy. If you've just literally bash senetmagazine.com into your browser, it will take you straight to our project page because we're clever like that. And there it is. So have a read of the project description, which took me ages to write. I fussed over that for I think about 2 months. Or watch our video, which again was a a big project for us. Shout out to David Hughes and Sam Ibrahim who put that together for us. They did a fantastic job. So have a look, see what you think. I think you'll like it. If you don't, doesn't matter. Just walk away. It's fine. That's totally cool. But if you if you like the look of it, then please, chuck in a pledge, pitch in. It would be fantastic to have you as part of our founding family.
Yeah, it's not often that an opportunity to get in on the ground floor for something like this happens. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, and also just so everyone's clear. So what we're doing is we're funding issue 1. So this isn't a kind of, we're not asking for a subscription at this point. This is just like, let's make this launch happen. Let's create this magazine. See what you think of it, and there will be an invitation within the magazine to subscribe. And obviously we'll be setting that up separately, a kind of how to subscribe and buy us online, that kind of thing, to then take it forward. So the money we want to raise is to launch issue 1. We haven't been specific about stretch goals in the sense that, to be honest, anything beyond our target will just be invested in making the magazine continue. So any extra money is for issue 2 and beyond. So like I say, it's like one step at a time. We just want to make sure people are into it enough, that they like it enough, and then we'll take the next step. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like, come in with us on this, and we'll all take these. We'll move it forward together, kind of a thing. We'll keep making it for you if you want it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you know what we forgot to ask?
What did we forget?
The name.
Where does the name come from, Dan?
It just sounds good. This is just words. It's just a word. It's just some letters which look good when they're put together.
I just made it up.
Yeah. Does it need to mean anything? No. So Senet, and actually with this, we did have. It was like I think the longest discussion we had, and the most toing and froing about anything, was what the name of the magazine was going to be, and. And the thing is, there's only so many things you can do with the word board and the word game, and also if you just use the word game, then actually most people just assume it's video games in these days and everything. So I kind of I wanted something that had a bit of character, that had a bit of story behind it, and also actually I wanted something which kind of in a way reflected the global nature of board gaming. It's not just a Western thing. Obviously, it's kind of like everyone all around the world enjoys board games. And then I sort of thought about the first ever game, like as far as we know, the oldest known game is the Egyptian game Senet. And I sort of that went on the list because I was sort of thinking, and I also I think on the list also went some a made up game. There's a game called Azad, I believe it is, from Ian M. Banks's Player of Games novel. So at one point I was thinking, as a real sort of like obscure reference name. I thought, maybe we'll be called Azad. And people go, what's that? Oh, it's the game in Player of Games kind of a thing. But no, but Senet's real. And people aren't entirely sure what the rules are because they didn't have the rules on papyrus handily stored away or anything. And essentially, and this was what sold it in the end for me, was the fact that the game is about getting through to the afterlife, like your journey to the afterlife. Okay, so fine, that's about dying. It's a bit morbid. But no, hang on. It's about getting to paradise. And then the word Senet comes from, and maybe there's some Egyptologists out there that will go, no, that's total nonsense. But my understanding from a study of Wikipedia is that that it comes from the same root word as like gateway, because you're passing through a gateway. So I thought, okay, gateway to paradise. There we go. So
some nice connotations there.
Now it sounds like a travel brochure.
I hear that the Egyptians had a bit of a fixation with the afterlife. Did you know? Did you know?
No.
Yeah. And of course they always like you get pharaohs that had games of Senet buried with them, and I think they believed that this, that you would play the game in the afterlife as well. That you would your progress through the afterlife would be helped if you were good at playing Senet. So, they were serious about board games, and you've got to respect that. And so that ended up on the shortlist, and just whenever I sort of tested it out on people I knew, which sounds best out of these, they'd say, Senet, that sounds best. And then James designed that rather lovely logo, and I just thought, now that works, because you've got the central N, and you've got the E on either side. Yeah, that just typographically it all just slotted together for us. So there you go, Senet, the gateway to paradise.
Excellent.
Also kind of reminds everyone that actually it's not a new thing.
Yeah,
been around for a while.
Yeah,
we're bringing it back.
Exactly. Yes. And it's just kind of, I don't know, maybe says something about the breadth of what we want to cover as well, in terms of board games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, look, I think on that note, Dan, I think that's all we've got time for. But thank you very much.
Note.
No,
I don't do sound bites. It's like, what does Senet mean? One line answer. No, I'm going to tell you a really, really long and boring story.
We've had historical anecdotes. We've dodged rabbit holes together.
Yes,
I feel like we've bonded.
Have you and I bonded, Ben? Do you like me anymore?
Like maybe like a little bit.
A smidge.
Yeah, just a wee smidge, a bit more.
Find me a smidge more endearing.
Yeah, let's not go too far with that.
All right, okay. Well, anyway, guys at home, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.